In this tutorial, you'll create an image in Adobe Photoshop for use on different social media platforms. You'll be introduced to Photoshop basics like working with photos, filters, adding text, and exporting. You can apply these skills to making images for different social media platforms, websites, and much more. To start your project, you can use the sample image available from the tutorial page or a photo of your own. Choose File, Open, and navigate to the image. Select it and click Open. By the way, a great place to find images for use in your own projects is Adobe Stock. Over here in the Libraries panel, you can search millions of images in Adobe Stock to download directly in Photoshop immediately. To make the most of Adobe Stock from within the desktop products, learn more in other Adobe Learn tutorials at adobe.com. We're going to be adding some text on top of this image. Now, a colorful, contrasty photo can actually compete with the text, so we'll first blur the photo using a Photoshop filter. Choose Filter, Convert for Smart Filters. In Photoshop, you need to use smart filters so you can edit the filter. Otherwise, you won't be able to change the filter later. Click OK. Now we'll apply the filter. Choose Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. In the dialog box that appears, change the radius value to blur the image to your liking, and then click OK. In the Layers panel, you can double-click the Gaussian blur you see here to edit those settings later on. Let's do one more thing to make the text we're going to create more readable. We'll create a translucent circle on top of the photograph to offset the text. We'll make a new layer for the circle so we have the editing flexibility we need to make the circle translucent. Choose Layer, New, Layer. In the New Layer dialog, name the layer Circle and click OK. Now we'll create a circle on this empty layer by filling a selection with color. Click and hold down the rectangular marquee tool and select the elliptical marquee tool. Hold the Shift key down as you click and drag in the design to make a circular selection. Release the mouse button and then the key. The Shift key makes the selection a perfect circle. In the Swatches panel, select a light color. Choose Edit, Fill, and choose Foreground Color. The foreground color is used most of the time when you use type tools, painting tools, or the shape tools. Click OK. Select the Move tool, and with the new layer still selected, drag the circle to position it in the image. Choose Select, Deselect. To add an artistic effect to the circle, we'll adjust the circle layer so it's partially transparent using an opacity slider. Click the arrow to the right of opacity in the Layers panel. This slider lets you make the circle as transparent as you need. Drag the slider until the circle looks good to you. Now we'll add some text to our design. Select the horizontal type tool. Go to the Tool Options bar up here and select this size. Type in a new value and press Enter Return so you can be sure to see the text initially. Click somewhere in your design, type Farmers, press Enter Return, and type Market. Select the text by dragging over it. Choose a font from the menu here, picking any font you have. If you're a Creative Cloud subscriber, you have access to Typekit. Typekit is a service offering access to a vast library of fonts for use in desktop applications and on websites. Align the text to center by clicking the Center Text button here. To change the color of the selected text so it's more visible on the light circle, click a dark color swatch in the Swatches panel. Now we'll move the text into place. Select the Move tool and drag the text into the center of the design here. A temporary magenta guide might appear telling you it's aligned to center. Now let's save our project. Choose File, Save As. Make sure to save it in the Photoshop format with Layers checked so you'll have a layered file you can reopen for later editing. Then click Save. Click OK. Once done, we can easily export the image so you can upload it to your blog, Facebook, website, or wherever you need it. Choose File, Export, Quick Export as Ping. Choose a location, and click Save. We now have our image ready to go to put up on our social media sites, websites, or wherever you need. In this tutorial, you'll create a web banner in Adobe Photoshop to learn some Photoshop essentials like working with shapes, layer styles, and exporting your work. You can use the provided template and the skills you learn to create a banner for your blog or YouTube channel, an email header, a banner ad, and a whole lot more. To start this project, you'll open a supplied template file. Choose File, Open, and navigate to the file. Select it, and click Open. This dialog talks about a great feature for importing assets into the Creative Cloud Libraries panel in Photoshop. You can learn more about Creative Cloud Libraries by clicking on the link here. Importing assets isn't necessary for this tutorial, so you can click Cancel. Now we'll add an egg we make out of a series of shapes, starting with a circle. To create shapes, we use the Shape tools found in the Tools panel here. Click and hold down on the Rectangle tool and select the Ellipse tool. Shape tools let you create all sorts of vector shapes that are perfect for creating artwork like our egg because vector shapes are scalable and easily editable. In the design, press and hold the Shift key as you drag to create a circle. The Shift key makes the shape a perfect circle in this case. When it's the size you want, release the mouse button and then the key. In the Layers panel, you'll see a new shape layer containing the circle shape you drew. Now you'll name the layer so you can more easily keep track of the layers later. Double-click the layer name, change it to Egg White, and press Enter or Return. Next, you'll change the color of the shape so it looks more like an egg. Looking in the Properties panel that opened after you created the shape, click this color box and select a color fill to fill the circle with. Then click the Properties panel tab to close it. Select the Move tool and drag the circle into the center of the design area. A magenta smart guide may show when it's aligned to center. Next, you'll add a creative design effect to the circle using a layer style so it looks more like an egg. Layer styles let you enhance objects with creative effects like shadows, strokes, glows, and much more. To apply a layer style, first make sure the layer is selected. Then choose Layer, Layer Style, Inner Shadow. In the dialog box that appears, you can change all kinds of settings to get the effect you want. Even try other popular effects like an outer glow or a drop shadow. Once you like what you see, click OK. The inner shadow effect now appears on the image here. It also appears under our shape layer in the Layers panel, making it easy to turn on and off, edit, or even remove. Now we'll make the egg yolk. We need another circle, and since we already have this circle with the effect we want, we can simply duplicate it and make some changes. Make sure the shape layer is selected in the Layers panel. Choose Layer, Duplicate Layer. Name the layer Yolk, and click OK. Open the Properties panel by clicking here. Click this color box and select a yellow color to fill the circle with. Then click the Properties panel tab to close it. Our egg yolk needs to be smaller, so we need to resize it. In Photoshop, you can use Transform to resize the contents of a selected layer without affecting the rest of the image. With the yolk layer selected and the Move tool still selected, choose Edit, Free Transform. Pressing the Shift key to keep the shape a perfect circle, drag a corner to resize it, making it smaller. Release the mouse button and then the Shift key. Click and hold down inside the Transform box, being careful not to click on this icon in the middle of the box, and drag the circle to position it here. Click the check mark in the Options bar to stop editing. Now let's save the banner. Choose File, Save As. Make sure to save it in the Photoshop format with layers checked so you'll have a layered file you can reopen for later editing. Then click Save. Saving with Maximize Compatibility checked helps ensure that the file will be compatible with older versions of Adobe Photoshop and other programs. If you aren't exactly sure how you might use your file, it's a good idea to leave the Maximize Compatibility box checked. Click OK. You can also export another copy in an image format you can post on a website, like JPEG, PNG, or even SVG. Choose File, Export, Export As. In the Export As dialog box, you can choose the file type, JPEG in this case, click Export All, and choose where to export the file, then click Export. You'll find more information about exporting artwork from Photoshop in other Photoshop tutorials at adobe.com. Using the provided template and the skills you just learned, you can now create your own banner for your blog, an email header, channel art for YouTube, a banner ad, and so much more. As you learn and explore in Photoshop, remember to have some fun with it. In this tutorial, you'll create different versions of a simple poster in Adobe Photoshop. You'll learn some basics like working with artboards and placing images. You can apply these skills to making other posters or other kinds of projects in Photoshop. To start your project, you can use the sample images available for download on the tutorial page or photos of your own. You can also use Adobe mobile apps like Lightroom for mobile to capture and edit photos on your smartphone or tablet and bring them into Photoshop. Just be sure to use full resolution photos so they print well at poster size. If you're having your posters printed by a third-party service, consult them about poster dimensions and resolution. To open an image for your poster, choose File, Open, and navigate to an image. Select it and click Open. In order to create several versions of the poster, we'll use artboards. Artboards let you create multiple layouts with different content or in different sizes in a single document, and you can see them all at once. We'll start by creating an artboard for this image. Select the background image layer in the Layers panel and choose Layer, New, Artboard from Layers. Name the artboard Leaf and click OK. A new artboard is created that's the size of the image. Now we'll add some text to the poster design. Select the horizontal type tool. Go to the tool options bar up here and select the size. Type in a larger value and press Enter or Return. Click anywhere in your design and in capital letters, enter a few lines of text pressing Enter or Return between each line. Select that text by clicking and dragging over it. Then click the Center Text button up here to center it. Choose a font from the menu here, picking any font you have. I chose a Typekit font that comes with my Creative Cloud subscription. Typekit is a service offering access to a vast library of fonts for use in your designs for print and web. Let's change the color of the text so it's a bit more readable. Select a light color in the Swatches panel to apply it, then click the check mark in the Options bar to commit your text edits. To move the text into place in the design, click and hold down on the Artboard tool and select the Move tool. Drag the text into the center of the design here. That looks good, but we want another version of the poster design. We'll just copy this artboard and make a few changes to the copy. Click the word Leaf above the artboard to select the Leaf artboard. Choose Layer, Duplicate Artboard. Name the new artboard River and click OK. Choose View, Fit on Screen just to make sure you can see both artboards. First, we'll replace the image on the new River artboard. Select the layer 0 on the River artboard and choose Layer, Delete, Layer. Click Yes to delete the image. Then choose File, Place Embedded. Select another image like this Yosemite River photo and click Place to place a copy of the image in the file at a size that fits inside the artboard. Then, click the check mark in the Options bar. The new image is covering the text on the River artboard. To fix that, drag the Yosemite River image layer below the text layer in the Layers panel. When a line appears, release the mouse button. You should now see the text on top of the image. Now let's change the color of the text to make it more readable. In Photoshop, you can sample color from an image to use. Select the eyedropper tool. Click in this area of the Leaf image over in the Leaf artboard to sample a color. Now we'll save the color in the Libraries panel so it's easy to access in the future. Click the Libraries tab or choose Window, Libraries to open the Libraries panel. Creative Cloud Libraries let you capture and organize assets like colors, styles for text, images, and more that you can access in other projects in Photoshop and across other desktop and mobile apps. Click the Add Foreground Color button at the bottom of the Libraries panel to save the color you sampled with the eyedropper tool into a library. Select the Type layer in the Layers panel and click the color in the Libraries panel to apply it to that text. No matter what document is open in Photoshop, that library will always be accessible to you when you're logged in with your Adobe ID. To learn more about working with libraries, including sharing them, make sure to check out the Creative Cloud Libraries tutorials on adobe.com. In Photoshop, you can save or export or both. Saving saves all the artboards intact in one file along with the layers. Exporting allows you to save each individual artboard separately in a flattened format, so you'll have a copy of each poster in a separate file for printing or sharing. Let's first save our project by choosing File, Save. Choose a destination and click Save. Click OK. Now we'll export the individual posters. Choose File, Export, Export As. In the Export As dialog box, you can choose the file type. Click Export All to save each individual artboard as a separate file. Choose where to export the files, then click Export. We now have two different versions of our poster ready to go. You can use the skills you just learned to create your next project in Photoshop. Have some fun and see what you create. In this tutorial, you'll create a flyer for an event using Adobe Photoshop. If you're following along, download the flyer template from the tutorial page. You can use that template and the skills you learn here to make flyers for all kinds of events like fundraisers, parties, and more. In Photoshop, choose File, Open, and navigate to the supplied template file. Select it and click Open. As you work on a project in Photoshop, it's a good idea to use layers, putting each object on its own layer so you can work on that object separately. This document starts with one layer that's called the background layer. To make a new layer, choose Layer, New, Layer. Name this layer Salmon, since you'll be making a graphic on this layer that looks like a piece of salmon sushi. In Photoshop, it's a really good idea to name your layers to stay organized. Click OK, and a new layer is added to the Layers panel. To start the sushi graphic, select the rectangular marquee tool and drag in the image to make a selection. The area inside these dotted lines is called a selection, and a selection lets you isolate an area to work on. Now you'll fill that selection with an orange color. Make sure the salmon layer is highlighted in the Layers panel because you want the orange color to be on that layer. In Photoshop, it's always a good idea to make sure you're working on the correct layer. In the Swatches panel, select an orange color swatch. That orange color appears in the color box over here at the bottom of the Tools panel. This is called the foreground color. Choose Edit, Fill. Select Foreground Color from the Contents menu and click OK. Now choose Select, Deselect to remove the selection. It's always a good idea to deselect when you're done with a selection in Photoshop. Now you'll make another layer for seaweed using the same method. Choose Layer, New, Layer. Name the new layer Seaweed and click OK. With the rectangular marquee tool still selected, make a selection that looks like this. Select Black in the Swatches panel over here. With the seaweed layer still selected in the Layers panel, choose Edit, Fill. Make sure foreground color is chosen and click OK. Then choose Select, Deselect. Because the seaweed's on its own layer, you can move it independently. Make sure the seaweed layer is highlighted in the Layers panel. Select the Move tool and drag in the image to position the seaweed rectangle in the center. Magenta Smart Guides may appear to help you align the center. Now we'll add this text to our flyer. Select the Horizontal Type tool. In the Tool Options bar up here, click the arrow to the right of the Font Family menu and choose a font. The samples on the right side of the menu give you an idea of what the font will look like. Now, the fonts in your menu may be different than mine, so just pick any font you have. Click the arrow to the right of the font size menu up here in the options bar and choose a large size so you can be sure to see the text on the image initially. As you can see up here, there are a lot of other options for formatting your type. In the options bar, click the color field to open the color picker dialog. Move the pointer over the light gray part of the image and click to sample that light gray. This is a good tip for choosing a text color that matches the color found in an image. Click OK in the color picker. Click on the seaweed in your image, and in capital letters type Sushi, press Return or Enter, type Making, press Return or Enter, type Class, once more, press Return or Enter, and type 7 p.m. Select the text by dragging over it. And up here in the options bar, click the center text icon to center all the lines of the type with each other. Select the Move tool and move the text into position using the smart guides that appear to line it up with the center. Okay, let's save what we've built so far. Choose File, Save As. In the Save As dialog box, change the name of the file. Save it in a Photoshop format to keep all the layers you've added so you can go back and edit them in the future. Then click Save to save the flyer. Then click OK. The flyer we've built so far is pretty simple, but you can take it further. Here's a version of this flyer with more details. Every element was made using skills you've learned in this tutorial. I hope this example inspires you to go further with what you've learned to create more exciting flyers for your own events. In this tutorial, you'll improve the appearance of several images in Adobe Photoshop and give them a uniform look for projects like a presentation, a catalog, or a website. You'll learn basic photo editing skills using adjustment layers that can be applied to editing photographs for any purpose in Photoshop. To start your project, you can use the sample images available for download on the tutorial page or a few photos of your own. To open your files, choose File, Open. Select multiple images by clicking the first image, then pressing the Shift key and clicking the last. Click Open. Click the tab at the top of the tangerine.jpg image to show it if you need to. As you can see, this image is a bit dull. There are lots of ways to improve the appearance of images so they're more to our liking in Photoshop or in Photoshop Lightroom. I'll show you a few tips for improving your photos in Photoshop. With the image layer selected in the Layers panel, open the Adjustments panel by clicking the Adjustments tab. If you don't see it, you can choose Window, Adjustments. There are lots of adjustment layers to choose from, like Color Balance to fine-tune color, or Black and White to convert a color photo to a black and white photo. This image needs to be a bit brighter to make it pop, so we'll add a Brightness Contrast adjustment layer. Click the Brightness Contrast button here to add a new layer to the Layers panel called an adjustment layer. The Properties panel also opens, and it's where you'll find the controls for this adjustment layer. With adjustment layers, you can change the appearance of a photo like brightness and contrast without actually changing the underlying photo itself, and your changes remain editable. Now let's improve the brightness of the photo. In the Properties panel, drag the brightness slider to the right to increase the overall brightness of the image. We can also adjust the look of an image with more than one adjustment layer. We can choose from any of these different types of adjustment layers depending on what we need for our image. Next, we'll add a hue saturation adjustment layer to change the image by adjusting its color. In the Adjustments panel, click the Hue Saturation button. In the Layers panel, a hue saturation adjustment layer is created above the last selected layer. The Properties panel now shows controls for this adjustment layer. Drag the saturation slider to the right a bit. The further you drag, the more saturated or intense the colors become in the image. When you like what you see, click the Properties panel tab to close the Properties panel. I want to make the same adjustments to the other images as well to create a uniform look across them. Photoshop lets you drag the adjustment layers between documents to copy them. First, we need to see all the images at once. To do that, choose Window, Arrange, 3-up stacked. Click in the tangerine image, and you'll see the adjustment layers in the Layers panel. These photos were all taken in the same place under the same light, so we can use the adjustments we made to one of these photos on the other photos to give them a uniform look in our project. If you have photos taken at different times in different lighting, each photo may need different adjustments. Click one adjustment layer and shift-click the other in the Layers panel to select both. Drag from the layer name or thumbnail, not this white box called a mask, into another image. When you see an outline, release the mouse to copy the adjustment layers into the image. Drag the adjustment layers to the third image as well. Each image now has the same adjustments applied as the tangerine image. Since we used adjustment layers, we can now fine-tune each image separately if we need. Switch to the lemon.jpg by clicking in that image. This photo is a bit too bright. In the Layers panel, double-click the layer thumbnail to the left of the Brightness Contrast layer to edit the settings in the Properties panel again. Adjust the brightness of the lemon image by dragging the slider, and then click the Properties panel tab to hide it. Let's gather the images into a single window again just so we can focus on the lemon. Choose Window, Arrange, Consolidate all to tabs. If the lemon image isn't showing, click the lemon.jpg tab to display that image. Using adjustment layers like this is one option of many in Photoshop for polishing your photos for use in a project. There are lots of other things you can do to improve photos like these, including making corrections on an image-by-image basis. For example, I noticed that this particular photo has a smudge in the background. So I'll select the Spot Healing Brush tool in the Tools panel. In the Layers panel, I'll click the lock icon in the background layer just so I can make a change to this layer. Then I'll drag across the dirt smudge on this image to remove it. With some basic adjustments and edits, we made these photos look better. But there's so much more in Photoshop you can do. Explore further and check out additional tutorials about editing your photos at adobe.com. Photoshop artboards are really useful, especially for designing for mobile apps and responsive design. You can design for multiple screens and see the experience and the flow across your entire design in a single document. Artboards are containers that act like special layer groups, and layers placed within an artboard are grouped beneath the artboard in the Layers panel and are clipped by the artboard boundaries on the canvas. You can have multiple design layouts within one document by using artboards. This makes it easy to copy content between artboards, view everything all together, and also keeps your designs organized. When creating a new document in Photoshop, select Artboard from the document type, then select the desired artboard size. In this example, I'm selecting iPhone 5. If you already have a Photoshop document without artboards, you can also easily add them later. Let me switch to a document that already has content. To change artboard properties, you can select the Artboard in the Layers panel. You can then edit artboard properties such as size, orientation, alignment, and more using the Tool Options bar, the Properties panel, or by using the artboard handles to manually resize the artboard. Let me show my rulers. Notice that the guides are relative to the artboard that's moving. You can use the guide layouts to align elements in your design by assigning guides to your desired artboards or to the document. You can also use artboard-specific grids for aligning objects. Let me turn mine on by choosing View, Show, Grid. Just like the guides, the grids also move with the artboard. Let me turn off the grids again. There are many ways to add and edit artboards. With an artboard selected, use the on-canvas controls to easily add artboards to your document, or click the plus icon while holding Alt or Option to easily duplicate the artboard, or use the Artboard tool to create an artboard of a different size. Each artboard has a specific name that appears as a name label on the canvas, and you can edit the artboard names so that they make more sense to you. Just double-click the name in the Layers panel. You can also toggle the visibility of the artboard names on or off by choosing View, Show, Artboard Names. I'll show the artboard names again. In the Layers panel, each artboard has its own set of layers that you can arrange. If you have a lot of content, you can filter the layers in the Layers panel by artboard. If you select an artboard, or select content on an artboard with the Auto Select option enabled, only the contents of the selected artboard will appear in the Layers panel. It's easy to share content between artboards or move content in or out of an artboard. If you drag content associated with an artboard outside the bounds of an artboard, the content is no longer nested within it. Layers outside of artboards are not clipped by any of the artboards. Dragging artwork inside the bounds of an artboard auto-nests the content within that artboard. You can select the Prevent Auto-Nesting option in the Layers panel to keep layer content from nesting automatically in or out of an artboard. You can also lock the position of an artboard and its contents on the canvas so that it stays in place. Export optimized content easily by right-clicking any content in the artboard and choosing Export As to get just those layers, or you can choose File Export As to export each artboard as a flattened and optimized PNG or JPEG. Another option is to export each artboard as single PSD files. You can also save your design as a PDF where each artboard is its own page, allowing you to easily send the whole design for review or other purposes. Photoshop gives you even more freedom and flexibility to easily convey responsive web design, mobile app design, and much more. Give artboards a try today.